Hey, this is your man Sekou Kesty on Sekou Style. Hey man, today we're gonna be talking about the UN General Assembly, all the drama and all the good stuff that are happening in New York City. But before we get into it, again, if you're new to this channel, please subscribe. If you've been here, make sure you give that like button and then you do what? Share and make some comment. But today we're going to be talking about none other but the General Assembly that is happening right now in New York City. But my focus is going to be on what? African representation and what African leaders are saying and what they are yearning for. So without further ado, let's get into it. The main point that all African leaders right now are saying is like the position of the African Union, right? At the UN General Assembly is none other but they want permanent seat at the Security Council. It has been a long time coming. I mean, from Robert Mugabe to probably you could argue from the foundation of the UN when Ali Selassie, president of Liberia, all these people were like the few African countries then, because many of the African countries were not technically countries then because they were not still decolonized yet. Since then, African leaders that were there then, they felt like, the institution, the UN, that was founded after World War II was not reflective of the reality. This has been an argument, since back in the days, right? But anyway, to break it down in the simplest way, now in 2022, African leaders are back again at it, calling for what? More inclusive United Nations. And this cannot be done just by them coming into the General Assembly, which is a policy-making organ of the United Nations, actually one of the main policy-making organ. But the General Assembly, because too many people come to the General Assembly, too many countries, it's hard for them to really come out with concrete policies. Too many countries, all the countries that are part of the UN, everybody comes in there. But the UN is formed in a way that the Security Council, where we want to have 5 permanent seats or permanent members, right? Those 5 permanent members make decisions for almost everybody. Well, in the sense that if they agree to something, passes in the United Nations, they have the power pretty much to stop something or make something go. Although sometimes the General Assembly could serve as check balancing them, but it's not really that. The General Assembly, what the General Assembly does is really just make policy recommendation. Many of time it's just leaders will just come and talk about what they're doing, what their country position is, where what things are, really making policy statements, really, in a nutshell. But the Security Council is where things really go down, when it comes to making decisions like war, peace, intervention. Major guys who are on the Security Council, just where these decisions, and this is where the strength comes. Because for instance, if Russia doesn't agree with something, they could veto it. If the United States doesn't agree with something, they could veto it. And one member has a veto power, that means they could veto everything that all the other people agree on. Even if you have all the other UN members backing you up, and then one country of the Security Council decides to veto it. So they have too many power. It's only 5 countries, right? Looking at Russia, China, France, United States, and United Kingdom. So that being said, a country like Japan is now back in Africa because Africa as a continent has no permanent position at this Security Council. It's like, okay, this is not fair. If this is where real decisions are being made, African leaders are coming in saying, hey, we want to be part of this, not giving us observation seat or not permanent position. You could be, no, we want to have a permanent seat and permanent say at the Security Council. So this is really what's going on right now in New York. African leaders, it started with Macky Sall, which is he's the president of the African Union, or the chairman of the African Union, president of Senegal. He came in straight out gun blazing, saying this is what Africans want, this is what needs to be done to be fair to Africa, in his own words, of course, in better, more diplomatic way that I could mention. Same sentiment echoed by Kenyan new president Ruto. I can't pronounce his name properly, but you're gonna listen from him right now. I have a video of him which I'm gonna play so that you listen to what he says. And I couldn't say it better. He's a seasoned politician. He knows what to say and how to say it. And it really boils down to Africa being, given fair opportunity, and also the UN being democratic, the UN being fair and equal representation of everybody, right? So please, if you have some time, just listen to what Kenyan new president has to say. I think he really brought it down to the letter. Boom! Let's go for it.
Let me express the strong collective conviction of my country that the relevance, legitimacy, and moral authority of the United Nations will forever remain deficient, undermined by the absence of comprehensive reforms of the United Nations Security Council. We therefore remain firmly committed to reforming the Security Council to make it a more effective, representative, and democratic global institution. Given the magnitude and variety of challenges the world continues to confront, a more fit for purpose United Nations is urgently needed, one that possesses the legitimacy and efficacy in dealing with threats to international peace and security. A just and inclusive world order cannot be spearheaded by a United Nations Security Council that persistently and unjustly fails the inclusivity criterion. Similarly, threats to democracy will not be credibly resolved by an undemocratic and unrepresentative Security Council.